My journey into the world of Batman began with the 2004 animated series The Batman. As a child, I was captivated by the sleek, stylized world of Gotham City, the techno-savvy gadgets, and the youthful yet determined version of Bruce Wayne. This series was my gateway into the mythos of the Dark Knight, introducing me to the complexities of his character and the rogues gallery that defined his world. And while there are some undeniable similarities between the animated series and the 2022 film The Batman, both in their portrayal of Gotham as a living, breathing entity and in their depiction of Batman as a detective at heart. And while I hold a deep love and respect for The Dark Knight, I've always felt that it is, at its core, more of a Joker movie than a Batman movie. Heath Ledger's legendary and iconic portrayal of the Clown Prince of Crime overshadows nearly every aspect of the film, making it a brilliant exploration of chaos and anarchy, but leaving Batman himself somewhat in the background. However, with the Batman 2022, the spotlight is squarely on the Dark Knight himself. This film delves into the deep essence of who Batman is, exploring his psyche, his methods, and his unrelenting quest for justice in a way that no other film has ever done before. The following video essay will delve into the many facets that make The Batman not just a great Batman movie, but, at least in my opinion, the best Batman film ever made. Gotham City is as an integral part to the Batman mythos as Batman himself, and The Batman presents a version of Gotham that is unlike anything we have seen in previous films. This iteration of the city is drenched in rain, cloaked in shadows, and suffused with a palpable sense of decay and danger. Director Matt Reeves has crafted a Gotham that is almost a character within its own right, its streets teeming with corruption, and its architecture looming ominously over its inhabitants. Every corner of the city exudes a sense of history and menace, making Gotham feel alive and inextricably tied to the narrative. The visual design of Gotham in this film draws inspiration from the noir genre, with stark contrasts between light and dark, and a color palette dominated by deep reds, blacks, and greys. This approach creates a cityscape that is both oppressive and atmospheric, reflecting the moral ambiguity that pervades the story. The use of practical effects and real-world locations, combined with cutting-edge digital enhancements, results in a Gotham that feels tangible and authentic. It is a city where crime festers in the shadows, and where Batman's presence is both feared and necessary. Robert Pattinson's portrayal of Bruce Wayne offers a fresh perspective on a character who has been depicted numerous times across various media. In The Batman, we see a version of Bruce Wayne who is still deeply haunted by the trauma of his parents' murder, a wound that has never fully healed. Unlike previous iterations, where Bruce's public persona is a polished billionaire playboy, this Bruce is a more realistic portrayal where he is reclusive, almost repressed, choosing to immerse himself entirely in his mission as Batman. This portrayal brings a raw emotionality to the character that feels deeply human and deeply personable. Pattinson's Bruce Wayne is not yet the fully formed hero we know from other films. He is a man struggling with his dual identity, the trauma of his past, and unsure of whether he is more Bruce Wayne or Batman. This inner conflict is a central theme of the film, and it drives Bruce's actions throughout the story. The film does an exceptional job of showing how this duality affects Bruce, both in his personal life and in his role as Gotham's protector. The Batman persona, far from being a mere disguise, is an extension of Bruce's psyche, a way for him to channel his unresolved grief and anger into something productive, yet also deeply destructive. Pattinson's performance captures this complexity with subtlety and nuance, making his version of Bruce Wayne one of the most compelling we have ever seen on screen. This is a Batman who is still evolving, still coming to terms with the responsibility he has taken on, and still wrestling with the demons that drive him. It's this focus on the psychological aspects of the character that sets this Batman apart, offering a deeply personal and introspective look at the man behind the mask. In The Batman, the Riddler is a transformed villain from a typical flamboyant character into a terrifying, almost mythic figure. This new iteration of the Riddler, portrayed with chilling intensity by Paul Dano, is a far cry from the campy versions of the character we have seen in the past. Here, this Riddler is a ruthless serial killer who uses his intellect and penchant for puzzles to target Gotham's elite, exposing the city's deep-seated corruption and challenging Batman on both an intellectual and moral level. This version of Riddler is grounded within the world of realism, drawing inspiration from real-world criminals like the Zodiac Killer. His puzzles and riddles are not just games, but part of a larger, more sinister plan to dismantle Gotham's corrupt power structure. The film explores the parallels between the Riddler and the Batman, both of whom are products of Gotham's dysfunction, but who have chosen to channel their trauma in very different ways. The Riddler's actions force Batman to confront uncomfortable truths about the city he is trying to save, and the methods he uses to do so. Dano's performance is nothing short of terrifying, imbuing this version of the Riddler with a sense of unpredictability and menace keeps the audiences on edge throughout the entirety of the film. His Riddler is not just a villain to be defeated, but a mirror that reflects the darker aspects of Batman's own psyche. This portrayal adds a layer of psychological depth to the film that elevates it beyond a mere superhero narrative. It instead makes The Batman a profound exploration of justice, vengeance, and morality. Zoe Kravitz's portrayal of Selina Kyle, also known as Catwoman, is another highlight of The Batman. This version of Catwoman is more than just a love interest or a secondary character. She is a fully realized individual with her own motivations, backstory, and moral code. The chemistry between her and Batman is electric, but it is their shared sense of purpose and their differing views of injustice that makes their dynamic so infinitely compelling. Selina is portrayed as a character with her own personal mission, one that often puts her at odds with Batman, even as they find themselves drawn to each other. Kravitz brings a sense of vulnerability and strength to the role, making Selina a character who is as complex and layered as Batman himself. Her backstory, involving her search for a missing friend and her desire to take down the criminal elements that have wronged her, provides a parallel to Batman's own quest for justice. The relationship between Batman and Catwoman is one of the most compelling aspects of the film, full of tension, mutual respect, and unspoken emotions. Their interactions are charged with a sense of danger and intimacy as they navigate their respective moral compasses while working together to take down common enemies. This portrayal of Catwoman, while not my favorite iteration of the character, is a refreshing take on the character, emphasizing her agency and her role as both a foil and an ally to Batman, where it adds depth to the narrative and further explores the theme of duality that runs rampant throughout this film. One of the most striking elements of The Batman is its visual and auditory design. The film's cinematography, crafted by Greg Fraser, is nothing short of a masterpiece. Every frame is meticulously composed to evoke a sense of dread, mystery, and impending danger. The use of shadows, silhouettes, and lighting creates a noir-like atmosphere that is both visually stunning and thematically resonant. Gotham City is depicted as a place where light struggles to pierce through the darkness, reflecting the moral ambiguity of the world Batman inhabits. The film's color palette is dominated by muted tones and deep contrasts, which serve to highlight the stark realities of Gotham's corruption and decay. The decision to shoot many scenes in the rain or under the cover of night further enhances this film's moody, oppressive atmosphere. This aesthetic choice not only reinforces the film's themes, but also creates a visceral experience from the audience, immersing them fully in the world of Gotham like never before. Complementing the cinematography is Michael Giacchino's haunting score, which perfectly captures the tone of the film brilliantly. The music in The Batman is not just a background noise, it is an integral part of the storytelling. Giacchino's score alternates between somber, reflective pieces that underscores Batman's inner turmoil and more intense, driving compositions that heighten the tension during action sequences. The use of music and sound in the film is masterful, creating an auditory landscape that enhances the emotional and psychological depth of this story. The sound design also plays a crucial role in establishing and setting this film's atmosphere. Every sound, from the brilliant roar of the Batmobile's engine to the echo of footsteps in an empty alley, every sound is carefully crafted to add to the sense of realism and immersion, with this attention to detail in the film's auditory elements helping to create a Gotham that feels alive, where danger lurks around every corner and where the line between good and evil is constantly blurred. One of the most compelling aspects of The Batman is its portrayal of Batman's gadgets and technology. Unlike previous films where Batman's arsenal often bordered on the fantastical, this version of Batman employs tools that feel grounded in reality, reflecting the film's commitment to a more realistic and gritty portrayal of the character. The Batmobile, reimagined as a heavily modified muscle car, is a prime example of this approach. This Batmobile is not a sleek, futuristic vehicle, but a raw, powerful machine that reflects Batman's brutal and uncompromising nature. The design is both practical and menacing, with its roaring engine and imposing presence on the streets of Gotham, serving as a symbol of Batman's relentless pursuit of justice. Batman's gadgets, from his grappling hook to his contact lens camera, are designed with a focus on functionality rather than flair. These tools are depicted as extensions of Batman's detective work, emphasizing his resourcefulness and intelligence. The film takes care to show Batman using his gadgets in a methodical, almost clinical manner, underscoring his role as the world's greatest detective rather than just a crime-fighting superhero. This emphasis on practicality extends to Batman's suit, which is portrayed as a tactical, armor-like outfit designed for combat and stealth. The suit's design is utilitarian with a focus on protection and mobility. It also reinforces the film's depiction of Batman as a grounded human character who relies on his skills and wits as much as his physical strength. This approach to Batman's gadgets and technology adds a layer of realism to the film, making the Batman feel like a story that can plausibly unfold within the real world. One of the most distinctive aspects of the Batman is its emphasis on Batman's detective skills. While previous films have touched on this aspect of the character minutely, the Batman places it front and center, portraying Batman as a methodical investigator who uses his intellect as much as his fists to solve crimes. This focus on detective work is a refreshing departure from the more action-oriented portrayals of the character, and it adds a layer of complexity to the narrative. Throughout the film, we see Batman meticulously gathering evidence, analyzing clues, and piecing together the puzzle of the Riddler's crimes. This process is depicted with a level of detail that is rare in superhero films, and it highlights Batman's role as a detective rather than just a vigilante. The film shows Batman working closely with Gotham's police force, particularly Commissioner Gordon, in a partnership that underscores his commitment to justice and his reliance on his investigative skills. This portrayal of Batman as a detective is not just a narrative choice, it's also a thematic one. It reinforces the idea that Batman's true power lies in his mind, in his ability to think several steps ahead of his enemies, and to outsmart them rather than to simply just overpower them. This approach makes the Batman feel more like a noir crime thriller than a traditional superhero film, and it adds a level of sophistication to the story that sets it apart from other entries in the genre. One of the most compelling themes in The Batman is the moral ambiguity that pervades the film's characters. Both heroes and villains, with Gotham City being depicted as a place where the lines between good and evil are blurred, and where even the most well-intentioned actions can have devastating consequences. This theme is explored through the film's complex characters, each of whom is grappling with their own sense of morality and justice. Batman himself is portrayed as a character who is constantly struggling with the ethical implications of his actions. His methods are brutal, and his pursuit of justice often leads him into morally grey territory. The film does not shy away from showing the darker side of Batman's vigilante work, raising questions about whether his approach to crime fighting is truly just or merely a form of revenge. Similarly, the villains in The Batman are not simply evil for the sake of being evil, each of them having their own motivations, and the film takes care to show how they too are a product of Gotham's corrupt and broken system. The Riddler, in particular, is portrayed as a character who believes he is doing the right thing, exposing the hypocrisy and corruption of Gotham's elite, with his actions, though horrific, are rooted in a twisted sense of justice, and this complexity makes him a more compelling and unsettling antagonist than other iterations of the Riddler we have previously seen. This moral ambiguity extends to other characters as well, such as Selina Kyle, who operates in the grey areas between right and wrong. Her actions are driven by personal motives, but they often align with Batman's quest for justice, creating a dynamic that is both collaborative and contentious. This exploration of morality and the consequences of one's actions adds a layer of philosophical depth to the film, making The Batman not just a story about good versus evil, but a meditation on the complexities of human nature. The Batman also brings new interpretations of two of Batman's most important allies, Alfred Pennyworth and Commissioner James Gordon. These characters have been staples of the Batman mythos for decades, but this film gives them a fresh and more grounded portrayal that adds to the overall realism and emotional depth of this version of Batman. Alfred, played by the legendary and brilliantly talented Andy Serkis, is depicted as a more rugged and hands-on figure compared to other previous iterations. While he still serves as Bruce Wayne's trusted confidant and surrogate father, this Alfred is more directly involved in Batman's mission, offering tactical support and guidance. Serkis' portrayal emphasizes Alfred's military background and his role as a mentor rather than just a caretaker. This version of Alfred is less concerned with maintaining appearances and more focused on helping Bruce navigate the dangers of his double life. His relationship with Bruce is one of mutual respect and deep, if unspoken, affection, and it adds an emotional resonance to this beautifully made film. Commissioner Gordon, played by Jeffrey Wright, is another standout character within the film. Wright's Gordon is a man of integrity in a city riddled with corruption, and his partnership with Batman is portrayed as one of the film's central relationships. Unlike previous versions of Gordon, who often plays a more passive role, this Gordon is an active participant in the investigation, working closely with Batman to uncover the truth behind the Riddler's crimes. Wright brings a sense of gravitas and moral authority to the role, making Gordon a key figure in the fight for justice in Gotham. Both Alfred and Gordon are portrayed as complex, fully realized characters who are essential to Batman's mission. Their relationship with Bruce/Batman are not just fictional, but deeply personal, providing him with the support and guidance he needs to continue his fight against Gotham's criminals. This focus on emotional bonds between these characters adds depth to the narrative and makes The Batman feel more like a complete and satisfying story. The Batman makes a significant shift in the direction of the Batman franchise, offering a version of the character and his world that is more grounded, introspective, and thematically rich than ever before. This film represents a departure from the more stylized, action-oriented portrayals of Batmans in previous films, opting instead for a narrative that is more focused on character development, moral complexity, and psychological depth. This new direction is a welcome change, as it allows for a more nuanced exploration of Batman as a character. By focusing on his detective skills, his psychological struggles, and his relationships with other characters, the Batman presents a more complete and compelling portrayal of the Dark Knight. This approach not only reinvigorates the character, but also sets the stage for future films that can continue to explore these themes in greater depth. The film's success in balancing action with introspection and spectacle with substance suggests that there is still much more to be explored within this world of the Batman. The Batman lays the groundwork for a new era of Batman films that can delve deeper into the character's psyche, exploring the moral ambiguities of his mission, and expand the narrative possibilities of this Caped Crusaders universe. And when it comes to exploring the character of Batman, both the Batman 2004 animated series and the Batman film of 2022 stand out as distinctive and memorable interpretations of The Dark Knight. Though separated by nearly 2 decades and vastly different mediums, these two iterations share a commitment to reimagining Batman for their respective audiences while maintaining the core elements that make this character so infinitely compelling. The Batman 2004, an animated series that aired on Kids WB, represented a fresh take on the Batman mythos for a younger 2000s audience. This version of Batman was notably different from the darker, more gothic portrayal seen in Batman the Animated Series, where in the Batman 2004, the focus was on a younger Bruce Wayne who was still in the early years of his crime-fighting career. The series leaned into a more stylized, almost futuristic aesthetic, with sleek character designs and a Gotham City that felt like a blend of modern urbanity and futuristic noir. This iteration of Batman, while not only being one of my favorite depictions of Batman, was depicted as a more techno-savvy hero, often relying on advanced gadgets and vehicles to combat a rogues gallery that had been reimagined to fit this new, vibrant world. For instance, the Joker, traditionally portrayed as a dapper psychotic clown, was reinterpreted as a more feral and acrobatic figure, reflecting the show's dynamic and energetic tone. The Batman 2022, on the other hand, is a live-action film that represents a return to the gritty, grounded roots of the character, though with a contemporary twist. This film offers a version of the Batman that is deeply rooted in realism, stripping away the more fantastical elements in favor of a darker, more introspective narrative. Here, Bruce Wayne is depicted not just as a seasoned vigilante, but as a man struggling with the psychological and emotional toll of his mission. Gotham City is portrayed as a decaying urban sprawl plagued by corruption and crime, with a visual style that evokes the bleakness and despair of a city teetering on the edge of collapse. Unlike the more stylized and youthful Batman of 2004, this Batman is a figure of mythic intensity, with his every action laden with the weight of his internal conflict and the moral ambiguities of his quest for justice. One of the key similarities between the two versions is the emphasis on Batman's role as a detective. While the Batman 04 often showcased Bruce Wayne's intelligence and investigative skills, weaving in elements of mystery solving amidst the action, the Batman 22 elevates this aspect to the forefront. The 2022 film represents Batman as a noir-style detective, methodically piecing together clues to unravel a complex criminal conspiracy. This portrayal harkens back to Batman's origins in the comic books, where he was often referred to as the world's greatest detective. Both versions, despite their differences in tone and style, honor this critical aspect of Batman's character, reinforcing that his greatest weapon is not just his physical prowess, but his intellect and determination. The differences between the two interpretations highlight the versatility of the Batman character and the myriad of ways in which his story can be told. The Batman 04 used a more colorful and accessible approach, making it ideal for introducing younger audiences to the character while still providing depth for older fans. This Batman was more approachable, less haunted by his past, and more focused on the immediate challenges of fighting crime in a city filled with larger-than-life villains. In contrast, the Batman 22 is a meditation on the darker aspects of the character, exploring themes of vengeance, trauma, and the cost of heroism. This Batman is a tortured soul, his every action driven by a need to impose order on a chaotic world, even as he grapples with the darkness within himself. Moreover, both versions of the Batman serve as reflections of the cultural and societal context of their times. The 04 series emerged in an era where superhero media was becoming increasingly mainstream, and there was a growing appetite for more diverse interpretations of classic characters. This series embraced the trend, offering Batman that was more than in tune with the sensibilities of the early 2000s, where they focus on technology, youth, and action-packed storytelling. The 22 film, however, is very much a product of its time, resonating with contemporary concerns about corruption, inequality, and the search for justice in an increasingly complex world. This Batman is a response to the darker, more introspective trends in modern cinema, offering a version of the character that is much about psychological exploration as it is about crime fighting. In the end, both the Batman 04 and the Batman 22 stands out as unique and influential interpretations of the Batman. Each brings something new to the table, whether it's the vibrant stylized world of the animated series or the gritty, realistic, noir-inspired narrative of the live-action film. Despite their differences, both versions share a deep respect for the core elements of Batman's character, his intelligence, his sense of justice, and his relentless drive to protect Gotham City. These iterations demonstrate the enduring appeal of Batman and the endless upon endless possibilities for reimagining a story for a new generation of fans. The Batman is a remarkable achievement within the world of superhero cinema, offering a fresh and deeply compelling take on one of the most iconic characters in popular culture. By focusing on the psychological and moral complexities of Bruce Wayne, the film redefines what a Batman movie can be, blending elements of noir, crime drama, and psychological thriller into a cohesive and immersive narrative. This film is not just about reimagining Batman, but giving him a reinvigoration of the character for a whole new generation. It presents a version of the Batman who is still learning, still evolving, and still grappling with the demons that drive him. And in doing so, the Batman offers a more relatable and human portrayal of the Dark Knight, one that resonates on both an emotional and intellectual level. As the Batman franchise continues to evolve, the Batman stands as a testament to the enduring appeal of the character and the endless possibilities for storytelling within his world. It is a film that challenges our expectations, pushes the boundaries of the superhero genre, and ultimately reaffirms why Batman remains one of, if not the most compelling and enduring characters in fiction.